back, everyone, to the Bank Customer Experience Podcast. We have a very special guest today. I am joined by David Becker, who's the CEO of First Internet Bank, and really talking today about his brand because they were one of the very first banks to get involved in the digital space. And so they have some really unique insights into the current AI age we find ourselves in. So great to have you on, David.
Thank you, Brad. Looking forward to the conversation.
Perfect. So, just to get us started, can you tell me a little bit about what is First Internet Bank's history? How did it get started?
I claim that we're the first true fintech in the world. I came out of the technology industry 20 plus years, got frustrated with the banking world not understanding the power of the internet and the ability to truly do a virtual operation. So 1996, I started down the process with the regulators of getting the bank charter, as the fintechs are trying to do today. And it took me about 3 years. They were scared to death that somebody coming out of technology wanted to get into banking during Y2K.
Right.
So a lot of fear on their side. Became a game of whales, but we actually got launched in February 1999, prior to
Mm,
Y2K, as the first true online bank in the country that started as a de novo operation.
perfect. So, obviously, internet in its early days, there were some pain points, and it's changed quite a bit since then. We've been through, some say, multiple stages of internet development. So, how did First Internet Bank handle those early pain points?
Probably the biggest pain point day one was just access to the internet. If you go back to
Hmm.
1999, number one, we had flip phones. We didn't have intelligent devices in our hands. And most of it was still dial up, those old AOL discs that you would get in the mail, and you had a 1200 or 2400 baud access. So, quite honestly, probably the first 3 to 4 years of our existence, 90% of the transactions happened between 11 a.m. on the East Coast to about 2 p.m. on the West Coast. People were dialing in for work during the banking at lunchtime on T1 connectivity. So access was the biggest issue, and we solved that by letting them use the commercial services.
Right. I think that's one often forgotten fact of just how limiting dial-up could really be. Um, so from what I understand, First Internet Bank doesn't have any branches. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So obviously there's some pros and cons with that approach. What do you think are the pros and cons of being a branchless financial institution?
Well, the biggest pro by far is lower costs. We're able to pay
Hmm.
higher interest rates on all our deposit and savings products, checking accounts, a little lower rates on the lending side because we just don't have the overhead of the traditional bank. We're servicing a nationwide footprint. We're over 6 billion in total assets and doing it from one facility here in Fishers, Indiana. The economies are just tremendous. The one con is that kind of people face to face. A lot of folks like that. I'll go back to my dad would stand in line in the teller line to get Susie when he go get cash his paycheck on a Friday night. His generation, in particularly, they didn't know anything else. Even though I started the bank, I couldn't get my dad to be a customer. On the other end of the spectrum, I have 5 children that the only time they've ever been in a bank is when they could show up here and want me to buy them lunch. So, from a generational level, the folks that really lived and needed that banking infrastructure, they're on the tail end of it. And the folks coming up, my children, all 5 of them, and oldest, me 40 years oldest, never really been in a bank. So, the market is moving our way. There
Mhm.
were pluses and minuses over the last 25 years, but it's definitely, we were a leader ahead of the game, but it's caught up to us at this point.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely become a trend, especially with some digital banks or some banks moving towards thinking about how they use their branch a little bit differently, making it more of a space where you just go if you need some really complex advice. I was curious though, do you all have any sort of like ATM partnerships for people to be able to access cash as customers of your bank?
Yeah, we've been a member of the Pulse Network from the beginning of time. We don't actually have direct ATMs, but we reimburse you. Obviously, in today's world, still, if you use somebody else's ATM, they charge you anywhere from a couple dollars to $3 or $4 on service charges. We reimburse you for that expense, and I'm reimbursing our clients maybe a total of $20,000, give or take, on a monthly basis. I couldn't directly run 4 or 5 machines for that. So you can literally get cash anywhere in the world. And it's never been a problem and a concern from our side.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, and especially since you have that feature, so that they don't feel like they're losing money when they get the ATM. So that's really good. So I want to talk a little bit more about some modern topics because AI is talked about to death. I often find it's often overhyped, little understood, and sometimes it's even underhyped. So, in this age of AI, how would you say First Internet Bank has adjusted?
We're embracing it 110%. I've been questioned by some folks, why aren't you retiring? Why aren't you moving on? 1999, I was excited about the internet because that was an access point that you could get the banking 24 hours a day anywhere in the world. Today, AI allows us to provide you services and do things for you 24 hours a day, at any place in the world. In the old days, in the programming stuff, to get things done effectively, we would stage it, ship it off to India overnight, come back in the morning and have things done. Today with AI, we can stage things. It will run, it will operate, it will move things, it will answer things. We've never had a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week call center. We now have a bot stood up that can handle some I'd still call them elementary questions. It's getting smarter day by day, but it's taken about 10% of our call volume off the top. And that literally is accessible 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So we've embraced it 110%. We have 330 something employees. We're teaching them all about AI. We have all kinds of internal training classes taking place. We give them access to all the LinkedIn data. And part of the issue, I think, that we fight within our staff and most companies, they're afraid that AI is going to take their job away. So we've got them using it to help with emails, to help with anything, just to get comfortable with it. And AI ultimately will make them a better employee and give them a better opportunity than they have today. It'll take the mundane task and they get to think and do real things.
Sure. So would you say you use it both on the back end and the front end with AI?
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Is there an example of kind of like some back end stuff you do with AI you can give?
Yeah. For example, we have a product called Breton that we've installed on the front end of our SBA process. What a human would spend literally 5 to 6 business days doing queries on the internet, trying to validate addresses, validate this, validate that. Breton and the tool will do it in a matter of minutes. So we have been able to double down on productivity in the SBA area without doing anything other than just letting it take care of that initial verification. Obviously, in the SBA world, there's a lot of rules and regs, et cetera. It validates all of that, makes sure the customer qualifies. It validates who they are, where they are. It does the work. Literally, it makes it a week faster in the process on everyone that we do now.
Hmm. Yeah, all great points. So to go back to a little bit you were talking about before, you were saying First Internet Bank, you consider it kind of the first true fintech. Well, obviously, there's been a lot of fintechs since then, and the role of fintech has shifted in some ways. Some of them view themselves more as partners to the big banks, while others kind of stand apart. So, what is your opinion on the modern fintech?
Well, honestly, we have a very large piece of our business today is banking as a service. We're actually the backbone for a lot of fintech companies, Rent Credit Card being one, Jairus, an embedded finance company being another one. Well, we do all the actual money movement. They got the front end and the connection to the consumer. We do the actual financial transactions and activity for them. A lot of the regulatory compliance issues we provide to the. To me, the fintech community is much like when I was in the data processing world, I had a core system, but I wanted to open up the internet and make that available to our clients. So I created another company to do that and went out and specialized. I'd have buried it in the mainframe world. It would have never happened. And to me, fintech are taking points of pain for the consumer, building a modern state of the art product and service to deliver that. And we still move the money on the back end. I couldn't do the buy now pay later type service. To me, that's a morph from the old layaway days at the retailers where you go buy your goods, set them aside, pay for them, and all your Christmas presents are bought in July. Well, today you get to take that product home because they can take care of the payment on the back end. I can never deliver that product, but I can offer it up to my customers. I can make that available. So to me, the fintechs are actually a boon to both the financial services as well as the consumer because they're bringing some features and functions or creating new ones that we would never as an institution be able to do. So it's been a great partnership for us. It's growing and becoming a bigger part of our business.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Excuse me. Fintechs can definitely afford to be maybe a little bit more flexible and be able to offer that to consumers. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into what your services are, and specifically, what do you think are the most innovative services provided by First Internet Bank?
I think one of them, we've got what we call do more checking for small business owners. As a small business owner myself for a number of years, uh, banks weren't the enemy, but they weren't your friend either. You were paying hundreds of dollars a month in service charges. You had account analysis. You had this, that, and the other. Every time you used a service of the bank, they were whacking you for service charges and fees. And the proverbial game that, when you need to borrow money, the only time they'll loan it to you is when you don't need it. So we tried to destroy that being an entrepreneur myself. And we built out a checking product that no service charges, you got unlimited ACH, you got unlimited bill pay, you can do auto sweeps, you can do uh, uh, forecasting as to cash balances. And, if based on last month's activity, you do that this month, here's where you're going to run out of cash. So we put a lot of tools that you would only get as a very large customer in the treasury managed product, open that up to the average small business owner. And then you maintain one, we have no service fees, but if you maintain an average balance at 10,000, we actually pay you interest on a checking account. So it's taking that low overhead, putting all the service and the tech together. As a small business owner, again, what I thought about making it 10 o'clock at night. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get access to anything. Now you can be your own private banker and do it at 10 p.m., 1 a.m., whenever you want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely great, providing those services to small businesses that, as you said, is typically only available to larger corporations or larger enterprises. So, I was curious, what advice would you give to other digital first banks or digital only banks?
I think that I think the thing for a digital only bank today or somebody moving from traditional bank into the digital world, you have to forget about a lot of the practices that you had as a traditional bank. And when you come into the digital world, you got to put the customer in the driver's seat. Every decision we make is based on what's best for the customer, not necessarily best for the bank. Development of some of these products, it's not cheap to do, but the ultimate play, it's going to be a great service to the customer and we'll get the rewards down the road. So it is an investment. It's not free. You're not going to cut costs immediately. In a lot of cases, you might actually increase costs in the near term, but be a better product service. But the focus has to be what's in the best interest of the customer, not what's in the best interest of the bank, which is the way most of them are run today.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. So, I've got two more extra questions for you. So, my first one is, if your customers could identify what sets First Internet Bank apart or what they love about First Internet Bank, what do you think they would say?
I think they love the convenience. We try to do everything. We just redesigned the website and stuff. We try to keep things at a level of 2 to 3 clicks deep, so you're not digging through a myriad of stuff. So it's very intuitive, very functional. Yet when you need a human, you can punch a button and you'll have a human on the line. And we actually have a setup with a customer service. You can have a one-to-one relationship, like my dad went to Susie in the teleline. You could have Gina in customer service. And when you log into customer service or ask to talk to the human, if Gina's picture is grayed out, that means she's on the line with somebody else. You can leave her a message and she'll call you back, or she's there, or you see who else is available. And you can still get that human interaction when you need it for serious issues. And it's super convenient, very intuitive, and we still have human bodies behind to help you when you need it.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool feature because so many other of those chat services is just whoever happens to be there. So being able to have access to a specific banker, I think that we're just the gap between a digital only bank versus having that personal connection. So I think that's really
Yeah,
interesting.
actually, there's a local bank in the Indianapolis market running a kind of a gig against the digital banks that we actually have humans you can talk to at our branches. And I'm
Right.
saying humans you can talk to as well, and you don't even have to go to the branch. So it beats the program.
Sure. Yeah. And I think with some banks, you don't know what you can get done in the branch versus what you can do online. Sometimes that's not immediately apparent either. So, my last question for you is more of a general question. Is there anything you want to share about First Internet Bank or anything we've talked about today that you'd like to highlight for our listeners?
I think the advantage of working with First Internet Bank is that you have 24-hour access to literally all of our products and services. And most of the folks learned during COVID that they don't really have to go to the branch or other ways to do banking. We have better prices, better service, backed up by the human element if you really need to talk to a human. And we're continually developing new features and new products and services. So uh, we were the bank of the future in 1999, and I tell you today we're still the bank of the future. And I talk to people, the mayor here in Fishers asked me, "Hey, Bank of America building a branch across the street from you. Aren't you worried?" I said, "No, as long as Bank of America is still putting up branches, we're in the driver's seat." So better product, better service, better pricing. It can't be beat.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, David Becker. This is a really fascinating conversation. Loved having you on.
Great. My pleasure, Brad. Thank you.